What do Habit Rouge, Rouge Privé, Epic Woman, Sartorial, and Lever Jardin have in common? It's an interesting question, and I came about the answer in my usual OCD analytical way when it comes to the way I think about perfume. I often see, reading perfume forums, specific questions being asked about recommendations when it comes to perfume. Can you recommend me something that is long-lasting? Can you recommend me something that is crowd-pleasing, non-offensive? Can you recommend me something that is versatile, can be worn most of the year? And to a lesser extent, can you recommend me something that smells really good or has a little bit of complexity and interest in the composition? When I considered these particular criteria, and I have to stress that what I was thinking about is, if I took all of those criteria, and I couldn't really think of anything more, to be honest, to add to that, what would be the most complete perfumes, fragrances that I own, and that I can tick each of those boxes off on? And as I was looking through the list of the fragrances that I own, I was kind of surprised that there weren't as many as I've chosen here today. So there's 4 fragrances. I probably could have added 1 or 2 more, but when it comes to the easiest criteria to meet, does it smell good? Well, obviously for me, that is the most important thing to take into consideration if I'm going to own a bottle of fragrance. So yes, I think these all smell fantastic. The criteria, I guess, maybe that I give the least importance to is performance, longevity, projection, whatever. However, these 4, for me at least, perform really, really well. I can smell these for most of the day. The projection is where I want it to be. So I'm more than happy with the performance. So that's A for smell, B for performance. Then versatility, crowd pleasing. I'm never that interested in wearing a fragrance to make sure I don't offend anyone, but it is an important consideration if you are going to be in a work situation where there are people around you, or in a social situation. Like I'm not that guy who's just going to wear whatever he wants, knowing I'm in a crowd full of people, because maybe I'm just a little bit more considerate and I think about that kind of thing. So there are definitely fragrances I have that are more, that I would tend to wear when I know I'm not going to be around that many people. And so these 4, I personally don't think anyone has got any problems with. I can't think of anything about these 4 that could be offensive, and no one has commented in a negative way about any of those fragrances to me. So that meets that criteria. The versatility bit, I find that those particular fragrances that I showed you, I can wear for at least 9 months out of the year, and that situation is always going to be dependent on where you live, obviously. And then the last criteria, not the least by any means, complexity and interest in the composition. So I own a lot of fragrances that when you are smelling them, and I'm not talking about deeply analysing something on a blotter or even on your skin, trying to pick out notes. I'm just talking about the experience of wearing them, which ultimately is what they're made for. You're just made to wear them. You're not made to analyze them unless you've got a YouTube channel or you're a perfumer or you're an evaluator. When it's got to do with the stuff that you do in perfume, as an everyday wearer of perfume, and most of the people watching this video would be as well, how interesting is a fragrance on your skin? And for me, those particular fragrances that I just showed you have some interest in them in the way they develop. They start off here and end up there, or even if there's not a lot of development from point A to point B, you can smell a lot of different facets within that fragrance. Is that what they call a vertical development? I don't know. So that personal criteria that I've just talked about is what I would consider when I try and answer the question of what is the most complete perfume fragrance that you know. And after I've done that little analysis, I actually don't have that many from my 75 fragrance bottles that I can tick all of those criteria off for. So what is the point of that? The point is that loving a fragrance, as loving it enough to own a bottle, does not have to tick off a select amount of boxes. I've got so many fragrances that are very linear, but just smell great. I've got many fragrances that smell amazing, but only last a couple of hours on my skin. I've got fragrances that last a long, long time on my skin, but people around me may find a little bit challenging or offensive. I've got fragrances that are offensive, animalic, scary to a lot of people that I can only wear in the coldest months of the year. So you build a collection I build my collection based purely on the way that fragrance makes me feel when I wear it. And if you want to do a little bit more deep diving into what makes a really good fragrance, well, for me, the fact that these 4 fragrances met all those criteria, that you could subjectively call it a complete perfume. The fact of the matter is I've just uploaded my current favorite 10 fragrances, and none of these, as much as I love them, none of them made my current top 10. So that in of itself, the fact that they're complete perfumes does not qualify them necessarily to be in my favorite fragrances at any given time. So what this proves to me, I guess, is that you can get as analytical as you want about your hobby, your fragrance, but ultimately, for me at least, when it comes to perfume, fragrance, and what I love, there's got to be something almost kind of unmeasurable, intangible, maybe a little bit unconscious in terms of why you love to wear and smell like a particular thing. I just wanted to get that all out because I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and it has made me think about how I choose fragrances, or why I love fragrances on a little bit more of a deeper level. And yes, if you're going to comment and say it's just perfume, it's not that deep, I agree with you. But if you're going to comment and say perfume's so important to me, it's a real emotional connection, makes me feel a certain way, yes, I agree with you. We can both be right. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you didn't, bad luck. It's up. Bye for now.